were going through some pretty dense undergrowth that came up above our heads, and it was quite hard going. The temperatures were high, humidity was about 90%, so it was pretty steamy in there. So we were crossing over some fallen trees which were littering the valley sides throughout, and was one particularly big tree. I was the third in line crossing over it, and as I jumped down I felt this bang that hit me on the left foot. I knew straight away that it was a bite or a sting of some description, and I jumped away straight away and looked around me, and there I could see the outline of a snake just moving along the side of the tree, and I called out, "Snake! Snake bite!" straight away. And the guys all looked around and looked to where I was, and I was pointing to where I'd seen the snake, and it was Pompilio, I think, who'd spotted it, and he said, "It's a fer-de-lance." He said it was terciopelo. It's what they call the snake out there. And I just thought, oh my goodness, that's bad. I knew that that was a really venomous and dangerous snake. So straight away then we knew that I was in trouble, and they had to get me out of there really quickly. After about 20 minutes we managed to hit a trail, and the guys knocked together a stretcher for me out of poles and our backpacks and ponchos, whatever we could get our hands on. They had to carry me for about 2 miles to a shack. We'd got a vehicle to come and collect me from there, and transported me for about 20 minutes, and that was probably one of the hardest parts, because even though I was in a vehicle and I was being taken to safety, the pain had really kicked in at this point, and they'd called in a helicopter to take me from there to San Jose Hospital. It was about a half-hour chopper ride, and I landed on the roof of the Clinica Biblica in San Jose, and they took me immediately into the emergency room. Once they'd stabilized me, they put me into a room, and that's where I stayed for the next 6 to 7 days. And on the 6th day, the doctor was checking me, and he was examining my leg. He was kneeling down at my feet with my leg extended, and he looked down to my foot and he sniffed it, and that didn't look very good at all. And he frowned and he looked up at me and he said, "We've got to get you to the OR." And you could smell death in the room. The skin and the flesh on my left foot had begun to necrotize, so it was just decaying. It smelled of death. They opened up my foot, drained out all the necrotized tissue, cut away a lot of the flesh that had rotted, and then put a big vacuum dressing on that, and then sent me back to my room. At that time I remember thinking, this couldn't have got any worse. And after they'd performed the procedure on my foot, I remember the doctor, Dr. Wu, he came up to me in a rather deadpan manner and said, "Do you want to see a picture of your foot?" And I said, "Sure, okay." And he pulled out his phone. He said, "There you go, have a look at that." And there was a picture of my foot with all the skin flayed out, like it had been just taken away completely. And there was all like this, my tendons were showing, and there was just like bloody tissue underneath the big flap of skin that had been taken out. It was a weird sensation just looking at it, thinking, so that's what my foot looks like an anatomy lesson. So I had to come to terms with that fairly quickly, knowing that, you know, at the end of my leg there is this bloody mess basically, and I began then to worry that, was that bloody mess ever going to be the same again? Was I going to lose my foot? Was I ever going to walk again? Those things were going through my mind every day. I spent a month in hospital in total. I had several surgical procedures, removing dead tissue, having the skin graft, and then follow-up procedures on that. But the doctors were confident that they'd keep my foot, that I would be okay, that I'd walk again, that I'd need surgery, that I would have to undergo several procedures to graft skin onto the foot. But thankfully there was no real damage to the tendons or the connective tissues, so I was lucky in that respect. I'm 3 months in now since the bite, and I'm walking again, which is great. I'm not walking very well, but at least I'm on my feet and I've got shoes on. I can't wait to get back out into the wilderness, into the wild, and do the job that I love so much.